All right, I don't want to see any of that, but we talked yesterday, correct me if I'm wrong, about the Sino-Japanese War, right? And so, cataclysmic event, yet another war for China. Not only from approximately 50 years earlier did they have the first Opium War, then they had the second Opium War 20 years later, and then another generation later, they've got the Sino-Japanese War, and they lose to this little upstart, the island nation of Japan. What's that, Filippo?
Oh, no,
okay, so you can imagine how humiliating it is for China, and you can imagine how empowering it is for Japan, and then it also sends a message to other countries. So do you remember that political cartoon that we looked at? And it's on Canvas for you on one of the PowerPoints of China as a dragon on the ground. And its queue or its braid is being pulled. The various other powers are depicted as animals, and they're ready to chop China into pieces. And that's really what comes next, which is, it's literally called, nose to street votes, or really become a phrase, the scramble for spheres of influence. Okay? It's a mad scramble. What does scramble mean to you?
Run away.
What was that?
Run away.
Running away. What else? Yeah, a lot of chaos. Anything else? It's like a mad rush for who can get there first. So all of these foreign powers, Western powers and Japan, want a piece of the pie. Remember that political cartoon of the pie earlier? So, they've already gotten pieces of the pie, and they want bigger pieces. And so whatever works for you to remember this, this is what happens around the turn of the century. So 1898. Remember yesterday I said, and Cassidy, for you too, not to worry about the timeline so much, but to know more or less the order, because each event that happens during this dynastic decline is a response to the preceding event. So if we look at the Second Opium War, the South strengthening is a response to that. That China thinks that it can get its act together, but only by focusing on specific aspects of the West and not everything. And then we have the Restoration, which abandons that. And then we have the Chinese educational mission, this experiment with youthful exchange. That's shut down quickly. And then we have the Empress Dowager, who's digging into her heels with the past, and with probably pointed heels, right? Very tough woman who could throw a shoe as easily as she could dig in. And all of this time, China is trying but failing to address very deep problems. And then we have the Sino-Japanese War. And so, but at this point, it's clear that China is broken. The Middle Kingdom is breaking into pieces, and the foreign powers want to grab. I mean, this is very aggressive, as much as they can get. So I'd love to have you put some phrases on the board, and it can just be even a word that triggers a quality of the sphere of influence. And then, this is China's last gasp at reform, okay, before the inevitable, unstoppable, sad. So, anybody who wants to come up for just a couple minutes, let's put some terms on the board and hammer them down. What's that, Elsa? You have a straw. I usually have
You can
live
cut a
in my
potato with a
office.
straw. I've seen the videos.
We do have swimming coming up. Does anybody have another straw? She could use it as chopsticks.
Yeah.
Oh, here. A spoon.
It doesn't look so appealing. Okay, thank you, Adela. All right.
There's 2 markers.
Ancient heart. Okay. Anybody else want to contribute anything? Come on up.
China.
Everyone has a goal.
I'd love it. Okay, Nella gave us a start. Anybody want to add to that? What's going on with spheres of influence? And even today, spheres of influence is a diplomatic principle when you're talking about a power's interest in another country. James, are you coming up?
I think there's forks in here. Sorry.
Oh, I think you're
Yeah,
right.
there's forks in there.
Yeah, I think there's some plates too. Oh, you're right.
Yay, thank you so much.
James corrected.
All right, well, James, here's
That's in my car.
Kyle's going to come and dress it.
We don't think
No, are you going to come up and put something on the board?
Oh,
The black pen is really nice. I recommend using the black pen. Thank you.
You know, Matt's middle name is Yim.
Oh, anybody else want to?
Is what? Please don't
Yim. Her middle name is Yim.
What's your middle? What's Maddie's middle name?
Yim.
It's Marianne.
Anybody want to put something up on the spheres of influence? Kenny, want to put something up?
I feel like everything I have has kind of been said by you, but I get
Oh,
this.
sorry.
You might exploit.
Sammy, want to add anything? Kaylin, thank you, James. Else is now well fed.
I guess I could, like,
Yeah, come on up.
Why, mate?
Okay. There's some key elements of the spheres of influence that I haven't mentioned.
even hated sense. Oh, it's really hard.
There's like,
Even go to 23.
and then with the 100 Days Reform, anybody want to put some of the aspects that are suggested for this?
Like
Specifically, what does China plan to refer?
agriculture stuff.
Anything else?
Military techniques.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Can you write that down for me,
Was it
Kyle?
Western?
Military techniques. Yeah, from Western. White. Western Sacramento. Is that the order? Western. That they all
Yeah,
have
more or
in
less, it's chronological.
So it's like it starts at Buddhism and then it
Yeah,
ends
more or
at
less, it's right.
Okay, thank you.
Ooh, it looks like a YouTube crowd.
My interest is not to confuse you.
I'm gonna go take
Let me see.
Yes.
Inside of
Yes. Really, this particular study guide, it's important.
Oh,
Probably.
also
Reviews.
Or you can do this study, you can have a testing session.
yeah, it's on C there, right?
It's on this.
Okay. I'm gonna put it there, but okay. I might be able to.
Wow.
I'm gonna maybe like flashing lights. I can. See it, but that's like in the morning. For the next day. Okay, that's.
So that's what the spheres of influence was?
Yeah, this. For Chinese education.
Man, you don't sit down.
Thank you,
James
everyone.
put a strong word. Oh my god.
Okay.
Are you sure you've seen the same picture twice?
So if we were putting together a digital newspaper right now, we had headlines, we would know that the Xing was, if you had the Chinese lose to the Japanese in the short war. The scramble for spheres of influence accelerates. China's last attempt at reform is cut short by the Empress Dowager. This is quite dramatic. So first of all, Nikita said, gee, I'm not really sure what spheres are. First of all, you can picture what a sphere is, right? And that's, if that image helps you, use it. It's basically a world. And remember, with the first Opium War Treaty, the Treaty of Nanjing, how many ports did the foreign powers receive access to? More or less. Was that one? No, more than that. Before that, they had access there. With the first Opium War Treaty, the Treaty of Nanjing, the foreign powers received access to a number of ports. 5 initially, and then with this next one, 10. So when they receive access to these ports, they want various other rights like extraterritoriality, which they get. But it's still China, and the police are still Chinese. The customs officials who are examining the imports are still Chinese. And the British are still foreigners in China. With the spheres of influence, it's almost as if these ports become like little Britons, Germany. Because not only do they have extraterritoriality, so they can try their own nationals under their own law, not Chinese law, but also they can hire their own local police force. So the people they hire probably wouldn't be Brits or French anyway, right? So increasingly they can do whatever they please. So even though they don't own the land, they're renting the land, it's leased to them by the government, by the Chinese company. That the land on which Great Britain is operating, France or another country, is essentially their territory. Okay? So that if they hire the police force, they hire the customs, they maybe even control of some of the buildings to rent, they're largely in control. And that means that they're going to do with the land what they please. So even though the Empress Dowager has shut down industrialization, the Brits know, for example, you need coal mines to industrialize. And the faster they can industrialize parts of China, the more they can have profitable trade, because they can deliver their trade and sell it. Oh, Mahita's asking an interesting question about, is that why a lot of things are made in China now? I think the items are made in China now because the cost of labor is so much less than the cost of labor in a developed country like the United States. Now, China is very developed in some areas and developing in others. And China's going through a certain stage of industrialization. It's advanced industrialization. But their labor is still inexpensive. So that's why. But as soon as their labor becomes more expensive, which is inevitable with industrialization, companies will switch to a less expensive country. Like if we check our labels, it used to be several years ago, if I asked my students to check their labels, their items would be mostly from China. Now increasingly you'll find Vietnam, yeah. Yours is Vietnam. You could just check it and see where your items are from. It could be Sri Lanka. It could be any number of countries. Okay. So, hey, we just had a survey. You can try to do it, but we're continuing on that class, and it's Asia 206. Okay, Anela.
So when like the foreign countries came to China, did they like pick out the Chinese people who were like living in those like the spheres of influence? Like what happened to them?
Probably there is some forcible movement. Probably there is some. You live in this house. Well, we need it for factory. The land for factories. We don't think you will be welcome here. Yeah, there's displacement. It is disruption. Yes. Because they have their plans. They're going to be building railroads on someone's land, right? Yes. So it's very intrusive. So mines are part of industrialization. Railroads are part of industrialization. Telegraphs are part of industrialization. All the stuff China's resisting, the foreign countries will do in their spheres in China. sense and make more sense to you? Can you start to picture it? They're going to make sure that the ports have good access. They're going to take care of the ports. And China does not have much influence in these spheres of influence. And these spheres of influence are at key ports. Any questions about this? Okay. So China is well aware, the Qing regime, that they're in trouble. And the young emperor, and oftentimes youth is associated with openness, less risk-averse behavior, willing to take a risk, creativity, so all of that which you may possess. The young emperor is not afraid to challenge the hierarchy, and he realizes that China's in a critical situation, and he proposes reforms. And he put some of them up here: improve agriculture, learn Western military techniques. Have we heard this before? Learn Western military techniques? It's even before they sent the boys abroad. It's from the sort of self-strengthening movement, right? And it didn't work then, but the emperor's saying we need to return to that, and he's recalling that. And dismissal of conservative officials. Who are conservative officials? Confucian scholars. They are totally vested in the system. They like their jobs. They like mastering the three perfections. This is a review question. Does anybody remember what the three perfections are?
Oh, C, T, H, X, I.
No, that's got Confucian quality. Three perfections during the Tang and Song dynasties, when the Confucian scholars were at their apex of mastery.
Was it like painting?
Painting, poetry,
Song? Or like
calligraphy.
without?
I don't know.
Repeat that one more time.
So the Confucian scholars are the conservatives. They want life to continue as before. And the emperor, young and alert to the emergency, says, enough. Okay. The eight-legged essay. This is a very complicated essay that aspiring Confucian scholars have to learn. It involves years of study, memorization of the classics, a very formal, specified form. So it takes a lot of energy to learn. And the emperor doesn't think that's useful. Again, China needs guns and ships and a military and math.
So they were getting rid of
We're getting rid of what?
the eight.
He proposes to get rid of that. And that, that would have been a good thing probably, right? Because then they would have had to have a test that was more practically relevant. Okay. So he is courageous. Some of this isn't new, some of it's just being reproposed. What's the problem with just the title alone, 100 Days Reform?
Only 100 days.
What's only 100 days?
Until they.
100 days, does anybody think 100 days is short?
For like a
How many days do we have to send?
Oh, we have 7 weeks surprise because I just heard Dr. Scott say that to the seniors. So we have less than 100 days.
Oh,
like
no.
close.
But 100 days is less than a semester, right? It's a little over 3 months. It's nothing. If you think about our Congress, we couldn't get legislation passed that quickly. We couldn't even get them to discuss it meaningfully. So the emperor, too, is going to be stymied. He has opposition from who says, I don't like these ideas. The Confucians, they had a good gig for hundreds of years, multiple generations, and they're not so eager for things to change. And the Empress doesn't like it either. And again, and anybody who reveres tradition sees this as a challenge. And what does the Empress do? Well, she imprisons the Emperor.
Who's the emperor?
The young, he's related. But, I mean, this is violent. This is court intrigue. This is tumultuous.
Wait, how can there be an emperor and
The Empress is, she's not the acting Empress. She's she was the one who was supposed to be the guardian. And for some time she ruled. But he's thrown out now.
the mother of the
She's related to him. She's not yet.
Isn't she?
She's the complicated. Right. You know, you don't need to know the family tree so much, but it's interesting. I know if this were People magazine and the 21st century with social media, we would be having, again, great headlines. Imagine the emperor's been imprisoned by his own relative. But basically, the main thing is that the 100-day reform, it doesn't work. And so what we then see is a decade of just decline and the end of the Qing dynasty and a period in which China will have civil war. Does this make sense to people? And it's in your book. You've got it understood. Again, I just want to touch upon some of the main points. Any questions so far? So for me, it's always specifics. So, you know, if I mention spheres of influence, be able to tell me what's going on in those spheres of influence. They're territory that are being administered by foreign powers, but specifically what's happening within them. And we've got some items that are happening.
So where would these spheres of influence be?
They're-
Hong Kong?
Yes, they're ports. And ports are always key because it allows easy transportation. Anything else? Does all of this make sense for your text? Okay. All right. Oh, CEM's Chinese Education Mission. Okay, so let's go to the test. So some of these we didn't have reading for, so there are very few questions, but I just want to give you a full range. When I say Buddhism, when we watched that, it was sort of a break between chapters and tests, and we watched the PBS documentary. And Buddhism arises on the Silk Roads, right? And what is Prince Gautama Siddhartha's discovery? Right? He's a pampered prince. He goes out into the world initially, sees three things. He sees a corpse, sees somebody ailing, somebody sick, somebody aging. And that, for this boy, this beautiful boy in this beautiful world, who has everything he could ever want and more, is a revelation that life is about suffering. Absolutely.
It's so sad.
I know it's sad, but ultimately the message isn't that sad. And the truth is, it could be suffering to the scale of aging, and illness, and death. But any one of us, probably all of us, are suffering at this moment, and that's legitimate too. Anybody want to share your suffering at this moment?
I just did solely last night for my quality project, and it's not done, like barely. I think I can present it tonight and it'll look done. And then I have my chemistry test tonight, which I didn't get any time to study for because I was doing my quality project. I mean, not tonight. Why am I saying tonight? Tomorrow.
Poor Elsa. She's suffering.
Wait, Elsa, what test do you have? My chem.
Mahina has 2 tests tomorrow. She's suffering too.
I have 3 tests tomorrow.
You can actually try to read
I'm
it.
running on 2 hours.
That's
That's too much.
really
And that's all my fault. That's all my fault.
I have comments due
But you
tomorrow.
have to do like
Oh my God, Tara, I have Monday. We love you.
2 days.
I have 3 tests on Monday. We can make it easy.
Whose test is on
I have
Monday?
3 tests on
All right, think about that. Go to your deans quickly and see if you can rearrange one.
Don't do it. Just rip it off with Band-Aids.
All right, so do we agree that we are all suffering in this classroom? Okay. And it's 3 o'clock, right, on a Thursday, but it feels like a Friday, doesn't it? Okay. So Buddhism, that's one of the beauties of Buddhism, that it doesn't rank suffering. You know, my suffering isn't better or worse than yours or less than yours. And what is the root of all suffering?
Oh, no, greed.
Greed is a kind of
Sin.
sin. Okay.
Torture.
Torture.
Life.
Burden. Sin.
Begins with a D.
Dinner.
Devil.
Greed. Greed is what is greed? Define greed.
The
Want of money, want of wealth. Okay. Give me other forms of sins or vices.
Gluttony.
What's that thing called? Infidelity?
Oh, okay. What is infidelity?
I don't even know.
Anybody want to find infidelity?
Isn't that like cheating?
Cheating. Okay.
Unfaithful.
Being unfaithful. So that's a kind of want or what?
Desire. Well, we
Yes.
What were desire?
Desire is the root of all suffering.
Desire is the root of all
That's
suffering.
under Buddhism.
Wow.
Our stenographer over
But
here.
doesn't desire also make you want to try harder?
The truth is, it's impossible not to desire something. That's a good point.
If you did
The
it,
truth-
and the truth is you can't get that stuff. Like you just have enough money.
Exactly.
If you want good grades and you're failing, if you don't want good grades and you're failing,
You have to desire something. And even the Dalai Lama would say, desiring a better life, desiring to excel, desiring to learn. Those are not bad things. But they may make you suffer. We acknowledge, like, or else a diligent student is not getting enough sleep. But so what Kestrel said is true. We want to try to mitigate or eliminate. We can't eliminate, but diminish suffering. Okay. So, and we will do that. And what's one way that we can endure the suffering that's part of it? Cry. Okay. Remember in the video, there's this, one of the speakers talks about a glass. Like you're holding a beautiful glass. Maybe it's something you made in studio. And you love it, a glass class. And all of a sudden, you let go. It crashes to the ground. It breaks into these shining fragments. But what about that would be very Buddhist, a way to deal with that moment.
let it go. I like little
Literally.
Yes, even that is pretty. To acknowledge that because it's so fragile, that's part of its beauty. If it were really durable and lasted forever, you might not even appreciate it as much. So to enjoy that moment, knowing that everything is temporary.
Oh, like you were talking about going on the trip.
Yeah, what did I say?
You were saying that like we all enjoy going on trips, but if you went on one,
Oh my
like would you
God.
want to stay there? If you knew you were staying there for the rest of your life, would you enjoy it as much?
Right, it's because we know it's going to end that we appreciate it sometimes. Okay, so basic ideas, and then we move to the Tang and Song dynasties, which is these are quintessential Chinese dynasties. The Confucian scholars are, how are they doing during this time? Are they really impressed? They're doing well. And what are they producing during this time?
Art,
Art. What kind of art?
music, poetry, and calligraphy.
And what are those three perfections again?
Music,
Not
poetry, painting, calligraphy.
So, and they have this secret way of communicating with each other. Remember the painting with the seals that have been passed around for 1,000 years? Night shining white, right? That painting of a horse. They understand each other through the poetry. They understand each other through the brushwork. In fact, what are some of the qualities of their art?
Oh, nature.
Nature, because some of them are
Very
exiled and
intricate.
very detailed. Yeah.
It's black and
White is better.
Black and white is better. just black ink on paper or silk. Why is that? Why not a burst of color? It's much more challenging to produce the movement of a horse's mane with just a black ink. I mean, if I did it, it would look like a smudge, right? Seriously, if these artists do it, it looks like the mane. It's a challenge. Oh, and one of the reasons. And plus, they think it's beautiful. Okay? So they do their thing, and they leave us priceless artistic legacies that exist today. But then, what do we have? They have eventually also experienced decline. And we have a foreign dynasty come in. I just read to you this class, and I think I'm only going to ask like one question. But let's go over this together. What do we remember about the Mongols? And the Mongols are the Yuan dynasty. They're not in power very long. And they have this bloodthirsty reputation. But the book that I read to you is more revisionist history. It's a revised view. And what are some of the things that you remember?
Great horsemen.
They're superb cavalrymen, great horsemen. Yes, anything else?
They spread disease. Which led
With their decline, they do. They spread the plague. They don't need to. It's accidental. Okay, what are some of the good things they did? Oh, we're trying to revisit them in a positive way.
Don't they have like better garments? Or is that more too
Well, the tunics, yeah, they do. Europe is influenced by their dress. That Europeans switch from like toga kind of gowns to pants and tunics. What else? Kestrel, then maybe not.
They conquered the largest amount, right?
Oh, they conquered vast.
They made China huge and like kept in control even though they had like small amount of people.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, didn't they bring China to like one central China?
Mm-hmm.
Didn't someone do that before them too?
Yes, the Chin Emperor, but they were, very, very much warriors, but they were able to unite vast areas. Oh my goodness, yes, they believe in different things like a universal alphabet. They establish a postal system. They believe in primary schools for children. This is back in the 1200s, right? They believe in diplomatic immunity. Don't kill the messenger. Let the messenger go. Give him a kind of passport. They believe in religious freedom. They invite Islam and Christianity. And we see different kinds of synagogues and churches and mosques in China at this time. And despite their bloodthirsty warrior reputation, what do they do with prisoners of war?
Oh,
They don't use them as slaves or massacre them. They give them a chance to join their side as warriors, and they treat them fairly. The Mongols treat prisoners of war fairly. Does all of this start to ring a bell? So quite unusual. How come we don't know most of this?
Because the Chinese thought they were
They didn't-
barbarians, so it kind of stuck with them.
Two things. One is that they didn't write their own histories. They were not a literary people. Another is that those who did write their histories were people who were afraid of them, the Chinese and Europeans. They weren't actually interested in Europe because they thought it was too dirty and behind.
So wait, how do we know today that they weren't as bad?
Because if you start to actually look at the documents, there's always another side. And so there's scholars who are looking at them in a new light. Good question. Okay, so the Yuan are replaced by another classically Chinese dynasty that we spent very little time on, the Ming. This is the last quintessentially Chinese dynasty. Remember Admiral Zheng He at the beginning with doing his great flotillas around as far as India? So he lived during this time. So it's a prosperous time. Remember the Forbidden City video we saw?
The one that's under the
On
sky.
the
Yeah,
side.
tell us about that.
It's like
Pretty cool.
It's the walled city that's inside a city, and shape, like pointing to all sides of the compass and under the North Star, right? Yeah, under the North Star. So like the guy sits right under the North Star and everything is in the exact center of the whole city.
And what does that confer on?
He's the center of the universe.
Yes, and he's between heaven and earth as the emissary by ruler. So it's very much the ruler during the Ming has the mandate of heaven. It's that old idea that's being reinforced.
Wait,
So
if he's there, does that mean that he never? Because the North Star is here and he's there on the Earth, but then the Earth rotates that way. So he's always like.
does the North Star move? It doesn't.
Doesn't it stay everything is from the North Star? Yeah, so if he's in the very center at the North Star, doesn't that mean that he? Yeah.
What does it mean?
Wait, no, because the Earth rotates diagonally. No, the Earth rotates diagonally. So doesn't that mean that he never like? Does he get days?
Does he what?
Have like days?
Was he
like
Christian?
day and night?
Well, I think
What?
it's more. This is astrophysics. I think it's more figurative.
He's actually not under it.
He's a freelance. But you make a good point. Is that okay, everybody? You good?
That's-
Ah.
Moving on to the Canton system. Now remember, you've done this in your first Qing study guide. Remember the PowerPoint's on Canvas with all the stipulations of the Canton system. And then you did a great job with your McCartney mission, the entire class together. So you know all the nuances of that, right? You're comfortable with that, Lord George kissing the emperor's hand, and the emperor expects him to kowtow. Okay. And the significance of their misunderstanding. Okay. Then to jump, this is 1792, 1793. We jump forward to 1839. We've got the Opium War. The British haven't forgotten being snubbed. And the British have opium, and this is a very sad story. And
So with the McCartney mission, there wasn't opium there.
Is it still
no, we're not talking about opium. Yeah, good question.
So before the Opium War and the Chinese and China was inspired from,
What was that before the opium war?
that the Opium War and the Chinese and China.
Did the China have the upper hand? There's nothing like war to change status, right? Okay. Mahina.
So what was the catalyst for the partnership?
More trade and tea.
Oh, yeah.
The British are crazy about Chinese tea. So this is the period of tea, and then we transition to opium. And it takes, remember we saw that graph, and that's on Canvas, it takes a century for the peak of the opium trade to build. Okay, does that sound familiar? And then we're really in this study guide, the one that we've gone over the past couple of days. And that includes understanding the Taiping Rebellion. This is a major rebellion by this rather quirky, charismatic leader, whose some ideas are visionary and some are totally communist. He advocated distribution, equal distribution of land. That's communist, but we didn't have the word for communism then. He was ahead of his time. And then we see that the foreign powers have to help put this down. We have the Chinese educational mission. I mean, basically you should know this study guide, but I'm trying to pinpoint the areas of focus.
So what the Chinese educational mission was how long after the Taiping War?
So the Taiping Rebellion is quite a bit before this. The Taiping Rebellion is in the 1850s. And this is in the 1870s.
Okay. So the Taiping Rebellion was put down with help and reform.
Yes.
And so then, when did Taipei get
The Taipei is a different issue.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Taipei, Taipei, that's future 20th century.
Yeah. I just read that wrong. Gotcha.
Okay. Okay, anybody else? So, this is a very interesting experiment. If I were the director of the Chinese Education Mission, I would make it 9 months to a year max. I would not punish my students. And I definitely have girls do it too. And remember all this for when we get to Japan. And you know, we've talked about the other aspects, but you know the spheres of influence we just went over, 100 days reform.
So it goes in order of Buddhism.
The questions will be in chronological order, but I don't expect you to memorize dates.
But like the order of this on the board, it goes Buddhism down there and then it jumps there.
Yeah, okay, more or less. I'm not going to throw Buddhism in at the end when it came over the Silk Road during the You know this, so I would spend time on your 2 study guides publishing. Okay. And if you do have a question you think would be fair, fun questions, email me. Okay, everybody, I will see you tomorrow. That's going to be your treat.
James, is that your?